I've ever had a tidy bin and recycling station in any of the houses that I've lived in. That is until now. So this week I'm going to show you how I made a trio bin storage with a cabinet underneath for bin liners and sweeping brushes and things like that. So keep on watching if you want to see how I did it. So if you've got an awkward space like mine, I bought these One World recycling bins for £8 each. And they fit perfectly in this tight space. And I'm measuring the height of them while they're in situ. But with a recycling project, I took it on to challenge myself to only use offcuts in my garage. And I loved building my radiator covers so much recently that I thought I'd tie in the theme, use my biscuit join and create 3 strips for the front. I'll leave a blog post with plans below. So I've got my 3 panels, then I needed to cut the width of the horizontal strips as well. And I also thought I'd replicate the 30mm vent from the radiator covers, but also treat them as handles as well for the lid. So this is what it looks like all together. This is the front section, and I'm routering everywhere apart from the top and bottom of the verticals with a 45-degree chamfer bit. Then marking halfway between the horizontal strip, and these are going to be my biscuit joins, and transfer that to the vertical strips. Then cut a hole for the biscuit joins on all of those pencil marks that I created. And using some sash clamps, I placed it on top. There's also a rag down to catch any glue drips. And I'm putting some Titebond 2 glue straight into all of the slots, including a biscuit and some extra glue to run along, and slotting them all together and tightening the clamps. And meanwhile, I thought let's crack on with the side panels. Oh, and every piece of wood is 18mm thick that I'm using. This is actually hardwood plywood I had left over. And then I moved on to some tatty kitchen doors that I had that were taking up far too much space. Now to create biscuit joins for the front panel to meet the side panel. But I always do a test run with this on offcuts, just in case it's not set up properly and I might need to adjust it. But because of the sheer weight of the side panel, I had to clamp the front to it while the heavy side was on the bottom. The plan was to paint the whole thing anyway. So I thought it was a good time to mark and measure some offcut MDF screen that I had as well, and pre-drill and screw it at the back. And once the heavy side panel was dry, I could then work on lining up the other side panel, gluing, biscuiting and then clamping. Then I wanted to make a base for the bins because it's going to be propped up. And for this I'm actually just using some offcut coated chipboard. And I didn't want any screws to show at the front, so I thought I'd biscuit join this as well. Although I have read that chipboard isn't the best for biscuit joins, but I do have some cabinet blocks or modesty blocks that will give it a bit more support. So first I clamped it in place exactly where I wanted it to be, but I also put some modesty blocks on the underside as well, just to make life easier, although most of these will be going because it's the wrong way around. And because I didn't have any other sash clamps left, I clamped 2 clamps together to trap it into place and use some scrap wood as well, just to prevent any damage. And then fix the modesty blocks on the correct side. So this is underneath the shelf. So it's starting to take shape now, which is really cool. And then I wanted to make a drawer cover, and I'm lining it up so I can work out exactly where my next shelf is going to be. And the clamps again were very handy for this. And with another offcut, I fixed that all into place with more modesty blocks. And a quick test to see if my bins still fit.
Yes.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Although they are scattered everywhere now.
So back to the drawer cover. After cutting it down, I gave it exactly the same 45-degree chamfered edge. And then using a V-shaped router bit, I created a box flute design to give it a bit more interest. And I did this by clamping taller bits of wood around it so I could use that as a fence. And then I needed a bottom trim bit, which is also going to be hiding the shelf, but it'll also take the weight of the drawer cover where the hinges will be fitted. So I'm marking where I want them. And originally I started chiseling them out, pretty much how I did my door hanging, but I got very bored of it quickly. So instead I took a lot of your advice from that video and routed them out instead with a small imperial bit. I'll leave a link to the things that I'm using. And then pre-drilled and screwed the butt hinges to both pieces. Woohoo! Then I used two really thin shims, so I knew it would close with ease, and I could work out how much I needed to cut off the bottom of the trim. And because it was a really narrow piece, I just cut this with a jigsaw. And fix it into place with glue and more modesty blocks underneath.
Oh, I'm gonna scream.
Then onto the magnetic catchers, because I wanted the drawer cover to stay in place, although later I removed one of them because two was just too much.
Yeah, love it. Oh my god, that is strong. Wow.
And instead of putting a hole back on it, I thought I'd make it lightweight with a thick offcut that was fitted inside the back panels. But I'll have to adjust this later because I didn't realise that a hinged lid wouldn't work because the wall got in the way. And I'll show you that later, but right now I'm making the pine top with more offcuts. And I didn't have a deep enough piece, so I cut two strips and biscuit joined those together as well, and glued, biscuited and clamped them together. Although the tightness was making the join bow, so I left it with a piece of wood and an empty gas bottle to hold its weight. Although I wish I'd clamped the edges as well because it didn't set even. So I had to go over it a bit with a belt sander and then trim it down to the depth that I wanted. And chamfered all of those edges as well. Then I needed to work on a chain to fix to the drawer cover, and I clamped it down and cut with a hacksaw. And then opened an eyelet with some pliers, added the chain and closed it up. Although you'll probably want to do this after you've painted it, and repeated that to fix it to the drawer cover.
Nice. That is all I wanted. Yeah.
However, it was by this point I realised I needed to alter the top because my hinge lid meant it wouldn't be plumb to the wall. This also meant I needed to add a back to it to scribe around the skirting. So after cutting a strip off the top panel, I added some more butt hinges, although later I found two was enough. Then the next day I needed to give it a handle, so after making a jig with some offcut, I lined it up exactly where I wanted it, drilled my holes, cut down the screws because they were far too long, and attached from the back of it.
Perfect.
Then back to the top again, and I'm just penciling it where I need it to go so I could add some more modesty blocks.
Oh, that is great.
Then I painted the whole lot with Dulux Trade satin wood. I love this stuff. And then I added 2 coats of dark stain for the top and 2 coats of clear varnish. But there was just one more adjustment I wanted to do because the wall isn't straight. You could see a big gap at the back. So I decided to scribe another offcut to get the right cut.
Please work. That is not bad at all.
And attach it as I did before. But I'll also keep the straight one if we ever want to move it to a different house or a different room. So I've since been out and bought a couple of soft close attachments to stop it from slamming if you were just to want to drop it and go. And these adjustable ones that I bought from Screwfix earlier, they didn't work. And I bought this piston lid stay, but the instructions were so terrible
that it only gives you the measurements for certain degrees like 75, 90 and 110, and I think this is 100. So if you know exact maths on how to install these, then please comment below, or if you've got any other suggestions, then I'd love to know that as well. But hopefully you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.